Hey everyone, welcome to Korean One Spoon, 한국어 한 스푼. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Riley. So glad you're here.
This is episode 1, the very first episode. So before we dive in, let's take just a second to explain what this show actually is.
Yes, please, because I wish someone had explained this to me before I started trying to learn Korean.
So, Korean One Spoon is a podcast that goes hand in hand with an animated show of the same name. Each episode of the animation follows two Korean college students, Hyunjin and Dahee, and their very opinionated little dog, Seolbing. Every episode teaches one core Korean expression woven naturally into the story.
And this podcast is the deep dive. We take the dialogue from each animation episode and go line by line, breaking down the vocabulary, the grammar, the pronunciation, and a lot of the cultural stuff that doesn't get explained anywhere else.
So the format is, I'm the Korean language teacher, Riley is the learner, asking the questions that every beginner is secretly thinking, and together we walk through everything you need to actually understand what's being said, not just memorize it.
You don't need to have watched the animation to follow along, but if you have, it all connects. We'd recommend watching first, then listening to us, then watching again. You'll be surprised how much more you catch the second time.
One more thing before we start, and this is important. We cover a lot in each episode, not just vocabulary and grammar, but pronunciation, cultural nuance, social context, the stuff that textbooks skip. So, some of it might feel like a lot, especially early on.
Honestly, even I felt that way going through this episode.
And that's completely okay. The same expressions are going to come back again and again as the series goes on. And every time they do, we'll dig into them a little more. So please don't feel like you need to get everything perfectly from episode 1. Just listen comfortably and try to walk away with one or two expressions that stick. That's already a win.
One spoon at a time, right?
Exactly. All right, let's get into episode 1. And I have to say, this first episode of the animation had me smiling the whole way through. It's such a sweet setup for a first episode.
So for anyone listening who hasn't seen the animation yet, basically there's this college guy, Hyunjin, sitting on a campus bench trying to study. Cherry blossoms everywhere. Spring afternoon, beautiful day. And he is completely losing the battle against sleep.
He really is.
And then out of nowhere, this little fluffy white dog, Seolbing, just bolts straight at him. And Seolbing's owner, Dahee, comes running after her, completely out of breath. And that's how these two meet for the very first time.
Very K-drama, cherry blossom first meeting energy.
Absolutely. And by the end, they're saying goodbye and you're already rooting for them to meet again. It's a lot of story for a very short episode.
It really is. And it's packed with useful language. So today, here's what we're going to cover. First, 안녕하세요, the Korean greeting you will use every single day. Second, how to introduce yourself politely. 저는 이름이에요, meaning I'm name. Third, we're going to talk about the difference between 죄송합니다 and 죄송해요, two ways to apologize that are not interchangeable. And fourth, at the very end of the episode, Hyunjin does something really interesting with his speech. He switches between two different levels of formality in the same goodbye. We'll unpack exactly why.
Oh, I noticed that switch but had no idea what was happening. I'm excited to dig in.
Let's go scene by scene.
졸리다. 공부해야 하는데. 으아.
Right off the bat, 졸리다. That means sleepy, right?
Exactly. 졸리다 is the dictionary form of to be sleepy. But notice, Hyunjin doesn't say 졸려요, which is what you'd say to someone. He's just muttering to himself.
Oh, so it's more like talking under your breath.
Right. In Korean, when you're voicing an internal thought, like a monologue, you often drop down to this bare da ending. It sounds very natural as a private thought. If you were saying it to a friend, you'd say 졸려 casually or 졸려요 politely.
And then 공부해야 하는데. I can hear 공부 in there, which is study.
공부 means study, yes, and 해야 하는데 is a genuinely useful structure that means I have to, I should, but that 는데 at the end adds a feeling of but or even though. So the full line is I really should be studying, but, and then he just trails off into a yawn.
Deeply relatable.
Very universal.
어? 설빙아, 안 돼.
Okay. 멍. That's how dogs bark in Korean?
Mong or mong, yes, that's the Korean dog sound. You'll hear a lot of it in this series. Seolbing is very expressive.
I love that dogs have different sounds in different languages.
Now, 설빙아, let's look at that ah at the end. In Korean, when you call out to someone by name, you add a special ending. If the name ends in a consonant, you add ah. If it ends in a vowel, you add ya. 설빙 ends in the consonant iung, so 설빙아, like calling out Seolbing.
Oh, so if her name were Dahee, you'd say Dahia?
Exactly, because Dahee ends in a vowel sound. You'll actually see that exact pattern later in this episode when Hyunjin greets Seolbing directly. It's a nice thing to notice. 안 돼, no, or you can't, is casual speech. The polite equivalent is 안 돼요. Here, Dahee is speaking to her own dog in a panic, so casual speech is completely natural.
어? 아하! 하하하하! 간지러워!
There's almost no actual dialogue in this scene, just reactions.
Right, and that's incredibly realistic. When something surprising happens, you don't launch into full sentences. Uh-huh? Is that sound of genuine surprise? Huh? Wait, what? You hear it constantly in Korean dramas. It's just, that instinctive reaction.
And then, aha, like an aha moment?
Very similar. Aha is that moment of recognition. Oh, I see. Here, Hyunjin goes from, what on earth is happening to, oh, it's just a cute dog, in about half a second.
And 간지러워? That's it tickles?
간지럽다 means ticklish, and 간지러워 is the casual form Hyunjin uses here. He's laughing as he says it, which is accurate because try saying 간지러워 with a straight face. It sounds ticklish.
It really does. 간지러워 is casual speech. The polite version is 간지러워요. Nobody says 간지러워요 while a dog is licking their face.
죄송합니다. 설빙이가 갑자기 달려가서. 괜찮아요. 귀여운데요, 뭐. 설빙이가 낯선 분한테도 막 가요. 항상.
Okay, this is one of the most interesting moments in the episode, linguistically. Dahee says, 죄송합니다. This is the most formal level of apology in Korean, the highest speech register.
Wait, there are different levels of I'm sorry?
Absolutely. 죄송합니다 is formal and deeply respectful. You use it when you've really inconvenienced a stranger. 죄송해요 is still polite but softer and warmer, the everyday polite form. And then 미안해 is casual, what you'd say to a close friend.
So Dahee picks the most formal one because she literally just let her dog jump on this person she's never met.
Exactly. She doesn't know him at all. The formality is a signal. I'm taking this seriously. I respect you. I'm genuinely sorry. In Korean culture, when you've inconvenienced a stranger, choosing a higher speech level is a way of expressing sincerity through the form itself.
And then Hyunjin says, 괜찮아요?
괜찮아요. It's okay. It's fine. No worries. One of the most useful expressions in Korean. You'll use it constantly.
And 귀여운데요 뭐? What does that 뭐 do at the end?
Great catch. 귀여운데요 means he's cute though. Then adding 뭐 at the end softens the whole line. It becomes something like, so it's fine, you know? Or anyway. It makes Hyunjin sound relaxed and dismissive of any awkwardness, like he's waving her apology away. Very natural and warm.
Mo is doing a lot of social work there.
It really is. Small word, big effect.
And natson bun, pun is the polite word for person?
Yes, bun is the honorific form of saram. When you want to show respect for the person you're referring to, you use bun. So, natson bun is a stranger, but with a layer of respect built in. And makgayo means just goes right up to. Mak signals that something happens freely, without hesitation, without filter. She just goes to anyone all the time.
안녕하세요. 저는 현진이에요. 만나서 반가워요.
안녕하세요. 저는 다희예요. 반가워요. 얘는 설빙이에요. 저희 강아지예요.
설빙아 안녕. 나는 현진이야.
Okay, this is the scene.
This is the one. Let's start with 안녕하세요. This is the greeting in Korean. Morning, afternoon, evening, with someone you're meeting for the first time, someone at work, a neighbor. This is the greeting you reach for. It works in essentially every non-close friend context.
And what does it literally mean?
안녕 means peace or well-being. So 안녕하세요 literally traces back to something like, are you in peace? Or, are you well? It's wishing wellness on the other person. In practice, it just means hello. But knowing that background gives it a little more meaning.
I love that.
하세요 is the polite, honorific form. Between close friends, you'd just say 안녕, no 하세요. Now, 저는 현진이에요 versus 나는 현진이야. Both mean I'm Hyunjin. Completely different speech level. 저는 is the formal, polite I. You use it with people you don't know well or in any polite context. 나는 is the casual I for friends, family, and dogs.
So he uses 저는 with Dahee.
Polite speech. And then immediately turns to Seolbing and says, 나는 현진이야. Casual speech. Hey buddy, I'm Hyunjin.
And he doesn't even think about it. It just happens automatically.
That's exactly right. Native speakers code switch between speech levels instinctively. You don't stop and calculate. You feel who you're talking to and the register comes naturally. The more you're exposed to Korean, the more your own sense of this calibrates.
Can I ask about the endings? 현진이에요 versus 다희예요. Why different?
This is something that trips almost every beginner up. After the name, you add 이에요 if the name ends in a consonant and 예요 if it ends in a vowel. Hyunjin ends in 니은, a consonant, so 현진이에요. Dahee ends in E, a vowel sound, so 다희예요. The rule is always about the last sound of the name.
Got it. The final sound decides. Okay, something I noticed. Hyunjin says the full 만나서 반가워요, but Dahee just says 반가워요. Why the difference?
Excellent observation. 만나서 반가워요 is the complete expression. 만나서 means having met you. So literally, having met you, I'm glad, which we translate naturally as nice to meet you. When Dahee responds with just 반가워요, she's echoing, likewise. She drops the 만나서 because the context already established it. It's a very natural way to respond without simply repeating the same full phrase.
So it's like saying likewise or same instead of repeating the whole thing.
Exactly.
얘는 설빙이에요. What is 얘?
얘 is a short, affectionate form of 이 아이, literally, this kid or this little one. You'd use it for pets, children, or anyone you feel fond of. A more neutral option would be 이쪽은, this one here, which works in any situation. But 얘는 has warmth to it.
And 저희 강아지예요. 저희?
저희 is the humble, polite form of my, our. The everyday version is 우리. When you want to sound polite, especially in a first meeting context, 저희 is the refined choice.
설빙이가 좋아하네요. 이제 가봐야겠어요. 만나서 반가웠어요, 현진 씨.
저도 반가웠어요. 잘 가요. 안녕, 설빙아. 잘 가. 다음에 또 보자.
이제 가봐야겠어요. That sounds softer than just, I have to go.
Exactly. 가야 해요 is more direct. I have to go. But 가봐야겠어요 is much gentler. I think I'd better get going. Or, I suppose I should head off now. That get expresses a soft intention or mild recognition of necessity, not a hard obligation. It's a very natural, polite way to wrap up an encounter.
So she's not abruptly announcing she has to leave. She's easing out of it.
Perfectly said.
And 만나서 반가웠어요. This is past tense now? Earlier it was 반가워요.
Great catch. This is a lovely detail. 반가워요 equals it's nice to meet you, said in the moment of meeting. 반가웠어요 equals it was nice meeting you, looking back on the encounter as it ends. The tense shift mirrors what happens in English too. Nice to meet you at the start. It was nice meeting you at the end.
Same sentiment, different moment. That's elegant.
And Hyunjin 씨, let's talk about she. This is a title you attach after someone's name to show respect while keeping things warm and personal. Not as stiff as a formal title, but more polite than using the name alone. She signals, you are at a similar level to me socially, we've just met, and I respect you. It's perfectly fitting for a first meeting between two college students who've just become friendly.
So the she would drop if they become real friends.
Likely, yes. At some point, they'd probably just call each other Hyunjina and Dahee. But for now, she marks exactly where they are in the relationship.
잘 가요. I assume this was just a general bye, but you mentioned it specifically for the person who's leaving?
Right. 잘 가요 literally means go well. You say it to the person leaving. The person who is staying behind says 안녕히 가세요, essentially the same but more formal. The person departing says 안녕히 계세요, stay well, back to whoever is staying.
So there are directional goodbyes. The leaver says one thing, the stayer says another.
Exactly. And you can think of 잘 가요 as the slightly softer everyday version of 안녕히 가세요. Both work. And now, watch what Hyunjin does. He says 잘 가요 to Dahee, polite speech. Then he immediately turns to Seolbing and says 잘 가, 다음에 또 보자, completely casual speech.
The speech level switch again. He does it twice in this episode.
It's the same pattern as the 저는, 나는 switch earlier. It's now becoming his character signature. Polite with people, fully casual with Seolbing. You can watch this in future episodes too.
And 다음에 또 보자 means, let's meet again next time?
다음에, next time. 또, again. 보자, let's see. The casual form of let's meet. Sweet, light, casual. Perfect energy for saying goodbye to a fluffy dog.
Okay, let me try to summarize what I took away from this episode. So today I learned that 안녕하세요 is your all-purpose polite greeting. Morning, afternoon, evening, first meeting, it works. And 안녕 is the casual version for close friends.
Exactly. 안녕하세요 is your first tool, always.
I learned that to introduce yourself politely, you say 저는 이름 예요 or 예요. And the ending depends on whether your name ends in a consonant or vowel. Consonant, 예요. Vowel, 예요.
And if you add 만나서 반가워요 after, you've got the full introduction package. 저는 이름 이에요. 만나서 반가워요? Print it out. Say it daily.
I learned that 죄송합니다 is the most formal apology for strangers or when you want to show real sincerity. 죄송해요 is the everyday polite version. And 미안해 is casual.
Always match the level of formality to the situation and the person. When in doubt, go a level higher, not lower.
I learned that 저는 is the polite I, and 나는 is the casual I. And watching Hyunjin use both in the same conversation, polite with Dahee, casual with Seolbing, made that stick immediately.
Real context always teaches better than a grammar chart. That's why we're doing this.
And I learned that Korean has directional goodbyes. 잘 가요 to the person leaving, 잘 있어요, 안녕히 계세요 from the person staying. Not interchangeable.
Great. One of those things you only learn if someone tells you. All right, try it yourself. Challenge time. Your task. Say a full Korean self-introduction out loud, using your own name. If your name ends in a consonant, like Hyunjin, 저는 현진이에요. If your name ends in a vowel, like Dahee, 저는 다희예요. For bonus points, practice the farewell version too. Say it out loud. Several times. That's how the language gets into your body.
That was so good. One short episode, so much language.
Seolbing does a lot of linguistic heavy lifting.
Best Korean teacher.
In the next episode, Hyunjin and Dahee meet again. And honestly, I can't wait to see what happens. What do you think is coming next?
I have no idea, but I'm so ready for it.
Until then, 한 스푼씩 천천히 같이 가요. One spoon at a time. See you next episode.
안녕히 계세요.
안녕.